And hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Bienvenidos, bienvenidas a este cafecito, virtual cafecito with EcoMadres, Moms Clean Air Force, Corazon Latino. And today we are commemorating or remembering World Asthma Awareness Day. But we also have other cool dates that we're kind of celebrating. Star Wars Day, May the 4th be with you. Cinco de Mayo Eve, and it's important for me because I am from Puebla, originally from Puebla, and my name is Felipe Benitez. I'm executive director of Corazon Latino, and today we're going to be talking about obviously issues that relate to asthma, to the quality of the air our families, our kids, our communities breathe. We are also want to talk about a recent study that the American Lung Association put out, I think last week, called State of the Air Report, which basically measures how good or how bad the quality of the air we breathe is across the United States. And also, but we don't also know want to focus both on the problems, because we know there's a lot of issues, but we also want to focus on solutions. And today I'm very, very honored, very proud to be having this conversation with three of my favorite EcoMadres, three women that I admire that are doing amazing work nationally and in their communities. And they're all from EcoMadres / Moms Clean Air Force, Green Latinos, Corazon Latino. They wear different hats, but they're really about working towards empowering our communities and fighting for a better future for everybody. So I'm gonna actually let them introduce themselves because I'm terrible. I'm reading the bios and all the good stuff, and I rather have them introduce themselves. I'm gonna give them a minute each. Hopefully they can do it. And let me get started in alphabetical order with what's first? Cindy. Start with Cindy.
Thank you so much, Felipe. Yeah, it's Cindy Moore. I am the national lead for EcoMadres, and I'm in Las Vegas. Just real brief, I have been in Las Vegas pretty much my entire life, from the time my parents moved here from North Hollywood. And then before that, Mexico. Shout out to El Salto, Jalisco. And also today is also a special holiday for us here in my home because my almost 4-year-old is a huge fan of Star Wars, and he is walking around with his 3 different Baby Yodas, or the child, and his shirt and everything. He's all Star Wars out right now.
Well, the force is definitely strong with that one. Columba.
Hello, everybody. It is my pleasure and honor to be here at this cafecito with Felipe, Cindy, and Erandi. As you know, Columbus, Sainz is my name. I have 3 beautiful children. I've been living here in the city of Phoenix for the last 3 years. And I'm state organizer for EcoMadres and Moms Clean Air Force as well. Thank you.
Gracias, Columba. Erandi.
Hi, my name's Erandi Trevino. I'm the Texas Field Organizer for Moms Clean Air Force and a happy member of EcoMadres as well. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to have this conversation today. Just a little background about myself. I was born in Mexico. I'm a norteña from Coahuila and Nuevo León. And then I grew up in Houston, Texas, and have been all over for the last decade or so. But now I'm really happy to be back in my hometown because it's giving me this great opportunity to work for my community and to just get to know lots of wonderful people.
So I'm actually outnumbered. We have 2 from El Norte, 1 from Jalisco, and I'm the only one from Puebla. So, but guess what? I'm celebrating tomorrow. Let's get started. Let's start with addressing what this report, the State of the Air report that was presented last week, and unfortunately, there's a lot of concerning news that for the 3 areas where we are talking today, where you are all from. And by the way, I'm right now in West Virginia. So it is an interesting, also there's a lot of issues related to mining and there's a lot of concept. I mean, obviously the pollution might not be as bad, but at the end of the day, environmental justice, quality of the air, quality of our healthcare, it's a consistent topic that we need to be addressing. So I just wanted to let you guys know where I am. But let me start with you, Cindy. Las Vegas ranked not very well, and it was had some concerning data that came out of the report. Can you talk a little bit about that, about those numbers, but also how you are experiencing both as a mom, as an organizer?
Yeah. So, Las Vegas is known for people to come here from all over the world to go gaming, experience all the different restaurants that we have and different shows. So people don't normally come here or think about the air quality in our city, but Las Vegas ranked, we're the 12th most polluted city when it comes to smog pollution. And we are also, Las Vegas is located in Clark County, which is ranked number 17 as most polluted county to live in the entire country. And fun fact, since we're talking about Las Vegas and the Strip is actually located in unincorporated Clark County. So technically it's not considered Las Vegas. But yeah, when I saw those numbers, I want to say I was surprised, but I'm not. Living here pretty much my entire life, I have noticed some changes as far as like my health. Even just going outside, my eyes get extremely watery. I used to be able to wear contacts. Now I'm not able to. And then even driving on the freeway, when you're driving towards the Strip, you used to be able to see the Strip very clearly. Now there's some days when you can't. And because Las Vegas is also a valley, for the most part, I can just go outside my house and look in any direction and see a mountain, but that's not always the case either. And I have noticed a huge change as far as air quality with my son, especially when we used to live in the suburbs. More affluent area, further away from where all the traffic is. And when we moved here closer to downtown, we're surrounded by freeways. We're 1.5 miles near 2 major freeways, 2 bus stops. I noticed a huge difference with my son's health. I started noticing that he was having breathing issues, his skin as well. He started developing eczema and other rashes. And I did not know what was going on until I joined Mom's Clean Air Force and I started seeing the correlation. And I was like, it must be the air quality. But that's weird because I never experienced that growing up. But I was like, I'm just going to buy the air purifiers to see if that makes a difference. And luckily, I have the means and I was able to buy, I have 3 air purifiers running in my home at all times. And I've noticed that's helped, but when we're indoors, but when we go outside, even to play in the backyard, he can't stay out there long enough without experiencing breathing issues. And I'm concerned because one of his sisters has asthma, which she developed when they moved to Las Vegas. And she was 4 at the time, and now she's 13. So I am concerned.
Thank you, Cindy. Similar, Columba, you experience and your beautiful kids have experienced those consequences, those affectations in their little lungs, in their little bodies about on pollution. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're experiencing in the Phoenix area in general in Southern Arizona?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Felipe. It hasn't been a really good experience for me, for my family. We were living in this hot space for 1.5 years. And it wasn't until months ago that I realized that the time that we spend there, most of the time we had flu symptoms. My kids were sick most of the time. At that time, I was expecting my third baby, and I had to gone to my doctor as well to see what is going on. And I think as a Latinos, we like to say that we're strong and we don't get sick. So somebody just mentioned to me, Columba, you've been sick for a long time now. And I was like, and that got me thinking, what is going on? And then after 2 months of being there, I think the first one to experience the impacts of climate change were my oldest daughter, Columba, where she started wheezing at night. And to go back a little bit, Felipe, to the state of the air that the American Lung Association released this year, something that just stand out to me, it was that 4 million kids get asthma every year, and that we breathe more than 20,000 times a day. And when we as Latinos, as community of colors, that here in the city of Phoenix, we are more than 2 million communities of color that are disproportionately affected by air pollution. It only affects our health, because that's when birth defects, asthma, bronchitis, heart attacks, dementia, cancer, and COVID come to place. And this is something that we know as a fact, and it states on the state of the air that people of color were 60% more likely to live in a county with unhealthy air than white people, and 3 times more likely to live in a county that has failed all 3 air quality grades. And this is something that's happening here, but I just don't want to focus on the negative. I do want to focus on the positive. We have heard of the American Jobs Plan.
Let me get to that, Columba. We'll get to that. I wanna set. I know. So don't think I'm rude. I just want to make sure that we switch. But I would like to hear from Erandi's perspective. She being in Houston and having experienced not only the pollution, but a lot of environmental justice situations, consequences, and as soon or as not too long ago, some of the blackouts that happened in Houston. Would love to hear your perspective, how Houston, your area did, and how everything connects to the environmental justice and health of your community. So we'd love to hear from you, Erandi.
Thank you, Felipe. Yes, so again, I'm very similar to what Cindy said in terms of, I'm not surprised that Houston ranks so poorly in terms of how many ozone days there are in a year. For example, it ranked 11 for high ozone days out of 229 metropolitan areas. That's top, even greater than top 5%, right? But even as a child, thinking about, oh, what's visible, right? You can't see stars in Houston. You can't, see too far away because of smog. I have a very vivid vision of smog coming out of refineries on my way to school, on my way back home, because unfortunately, a lot of Latinos do live very close to these facilities. So for example, in Houston, 56% children who live within 2 miles of the ship channel are 56% more likely to get leukemia than if they live 10 miles away from the ship channel. So as a kid, there was a time when we had first come to Houston where we lived 1 mile away from the ship channel. My school was half a mile away from the ship channel. And so, yes, I've had a lot of health issues growing up. My sister has had a lot of health issues growing up. But it can be even worse than that, right? You're talking like, these are all these issues that our community is facing, not only asthma, but things like leukemia, cancer, things that are threatening our lives and the lives of our children, because they are most vulnerable to the effects of poor climate, poor air quality. So even to this day, now that we're living further away, we live maybe, I think, 10 miles from the ship channel. My niece still wakes up in the middle of the night because she has trouble breathing, because she has a lot of phlegm and gets stuck. And so she'll wake up. Sometimes it's fine. She'll wake up for a few minutes, but that's interrupting her sleep. Sleep is fundamental for development, right? We all know this. So it's not just the nights when she's waking up crying that are bad. It's the nights, any night that she's being woken up because of poor breathing due to the air outside. But as Columba is mentioning, it's not just these issues affecting everyone living with this air quality. Latinos, African Americans, just people of color in general are being affected by it in a highly disproportionate amount because we're living in these areas for many different reasons. That's where our community is, that's where our jobs are, that's where we can afford to live because it's so expensive everywhere else. On top of that, you have social issues, you have poor health, access to health care, and all the environmental events that have been happening in the last few years. I mean, they're happening at a rate where we can't keep up. We can't keep up in terms of fixing things that around our homes that are being damaged by hurricanes, by blackouts, by freezing temperatures. Just 3 years ago during Hurricane, Hurricane, there are so many. My mom's house flooded and everyone had to live in the same room for a few months while the rest of the house was being fixed because they couldn't afford to go live somewhere else, to go get a hotel. So yes, everybody in the city is being affected by things like hurricanes and blackouts, but not everyone can deal with them in the same way or recover at the same rate. So that's what just makes this such a more pressing issue for our community, is because we're being hit from all different directions and it's really hard to keep up. And having just had those blackouts a month ago or 2 months ago, I can't keep track of the calendar anymore. September is coming up and that's hurricane season.
Exactly.
I'm worried about a hurricane coming and what that's going to do to our infrastructure, on top of COVID, on top of people still struggling to pay the damaged pipes in their house. So to me, I mean, and to all of us, it's just a really urgent matter.
Absolutely, and we couldn't agree more. I think you were mentioning about your niece waking up. I've heard Columba in other moments talk about the ability for her to get her kids outdoors. And I mean, on top of what you have all said, but just denying the opportunity to have those basic development and um, growth for them, the right to play, the right to, there's even a nap ministry, the importance of napping. It's really affecting the well-being of this and future generations. So it is important. But let's switch a little bit. We there's hope. I think we always need to lead from love and from hope. That's where we go with Corazon Latino. We lead from love. And I do think, and I know Columba was ready to jump in and talk about some solutions that are on the horizon. And Columba, tell us a little bit about the American Jobs Act. I mean, we know that we have right now a very interesting proposal that can fundamentally change the way our economy, our society, and the way we address climate and pollution. But we'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to learn more about what does the American Jobs Act do or proposes.
Thank you so much, Felipe. And Erandi, I think you touch on very important topics. And I think that when we put them all together, we understand that climate change is just the mother of all the problems. And if we don't start by changing the infrastructure in our communities, in our cities, we're not going to get this problem solved. So I was speaking, the American Jobs Plan, it's a plan that the new Biden administration is working on. So because they understand this. So this plan will work on protecting our roads, our bridges, to electrifying our public transportation, to have resilient infrastructure. Our drinking water needs to be cleaner. Housing, it's a major problem when it comes to climate change. The wealthier areas get to have all the trees, all the nice green areas, but what about our communities, right? Housing, brown, caregiving, and childcare, manufacturing, home energy, clean energy jobs, and veterans health. These are all the topics that the American Jobs Plan covers. And they're also important when it comes to our Latino community, because we need investment in those areas where we know that our people are struggling. And just like Erandi mentioned, in the midst of a pandemic, we're currently in a pandemic, and we continue to see our families, our friends struggling just to make ends meet. And none of these things that I just mentioned are working for us as Latinos, as communities of color. So this is the time when Moms Clean Air Force, Corazon Latino, comes to action. And we know as moms how, and Erandi mentioned too on her sobrinita, right, Erandi? Sí, sobrinita, how she was impacted too. So this matters to all of us as a family. And this is the reason why Moms Clean Air Force makes it so easy for us as a family to come together, go to momscleanairforce.org and go to the tab that says take action. The letters are written down for you, so you can change whatever you want. And that letter will go directly to your elected official to take action and support the jobs plan action. Thank you.
And thank you, Columba. And I want to emphasize something. The word jobs in the title of this program is jobs, 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 empleos, empleos, empleos. This is a truly historic, a truly unique moment where we can rebuild better, cleaner, and make sure that we have the jobs, we have the economic prosperity that our communities deserve. So it's not one or the other. We can accomplish both. We can create a better future in our pockets, but we can, at the same time, we can be protecting our Madre Tierra and protecting our communities. So thank you, Columba. I want to pivot to you, Cindy, and you have you wanted to talk about a recent proposal called the Environmental Justice Mapping and Data Act. Can you tell us a little bit about this particular proposal?
Yeah, so the Environmental Justice Mapping and Data Collection Act of 2021 was recently introduced in the Senate by Senator Markey and Senator Duckworth, as well as in the House of Representatives. It was introduced by Representative Cori Bush. This act is very important to our communities. Oftentimes we hear environmental justice, environmental racism, but a lot of times our communities don't know what that is and how it impacts them directly. We talk about frontline communities. I live in a frontline community. We're a community that's experiencing the negative effects of air pollution and what's going on. But this act is very important because it'll create a task force led by the EPA, and they're going to map out the communities that are most impacted by environmental injustice issues. Columba talked about the American Jobs Act, and part of the goal for this administration is to at least invest 40% of those funds to communities most impacted by climate change. And what this act does, it'll create a map and it'll help guide where that investment will go. So this is really important to our communities because I know where the frontline communities are in Las Vegas. I don't know where the frontline communities are in Houston, Phoenix, even Reno, or other cities, but this will help us get a better picture of where the frontline communities are, and it'll help us advocate where those dollars need to go, because a lot of times our communities are left behind, one in the conversation and also investment part. But this act will ensure that for the first time, our communities are not left behind and that the proper investments are made to help us move forward. Because I shouldn't have to live in a more affluent area to be able to breathe good air. I shouldn't have to live in an area that's maybe like 30, 40 minutes away from my parents' house, just so I can take my son out to the park. Our communities deserve to have the same access to green spaces and clean air. And everyone should have a right to clean air regardless of where we live. And this is why this act is very important to us here at EcoMadres and Moms Clean Air Force.
And you touch a point where Corazon Latino has a lot of work, which is access to green spaces. And we want to make sure that everybody has within walking distance or close to them the ability to do that, to connect, to reconnect with nature. That's what we want folks to do, because if you reconnect with nature, because we are all part of nature, sometimes we just forget about it a little bit, but that brings us well-being. It brings us, reduces our stress, lowers our blood pressure, improves our immune system, and just makes us be better. And it's not only, I mean, this is scientifically proven, it's evidence-based that 20 minutes, just imagine 20 minutes in nature a day can make a huge difference. And you don't need to go to a park, or like, can be in your own neighborhood, could be having access to a tree or even a plantita at your home. That's enough. So those 20 minutes are super important, and that's where the investment needs to be. So Erandi, I want to build from what Cindy mentioned on how our community needs to be involved, be part of the conversation. In a way, we need to advocate to make sure that we have a seat at the table, but at the same time, we want to make sure that our community raises to the occasion and speaks up. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience and what would be your desire, your call to action regarding this topic?
Right. Thank you, Felipe. Yes, so I know that in our community, like the Latino community, a lot of times people will say, you know, there are so many problems out in the world, but what are you going to do? Like, what can we do about it? Things are just going to keep being the same. They don't have to stay the same. We don't have to be complacent with the way things are right now in our community, in our country. We have a say. And EcoMadres is providing the platform for Latinos specifically, because oftentimes we don't have a seat at the table. You know, I worked in DC for 3 years. I've worked in New York before, and I've sat maybe not right at the table, but right behind the people at the table. And most of the time it's white males. And there's nothing wrong with white males, but they don't have all of the perspectives that we have. It's the table is more valuable when you have people who come from different backgrounds and with different experiences. And I want to tell the other Latinos, if I've been able to even be in the same room before at my age, we can all be part of the conversations, and there are ways. It's just finding a vehicle, it's finding a platform, and EcoMadres is that platform for the Latino community in terms of environmental issues.
Finding your voice and speaking up.
Exactly. Not only that, but it's using your voice, but also amplifying it, because there is force in numbers. And if we're all speaking together, it's not just one person saying, hey, I don't really like the way my community. It's very easy for that to be sort of moved out of the way and say, you know, someone will say, oh, whatever, you're complaining. But if we all come together and we say, no, these are issues that we're seeing, not just in Houston, not just in Texas, all over the country, that creates power. There's like, if you have this like billionaire, one billionaire, a few billionaires, but then you have all of us speaking together, it's like David and Goliath, right? You have the little soldiers or, you know, our little voices together. They're powerful. And
yeah. Okay.
oh, sorry, just one more thing. I want to say that we're very fortunate right now because we have social media. We have platforms like Facebook Live. We have Instagram, Twitter. That gives us a lot of power as well. We can reach people all over the world. We can reach the actual representatives in public, send them a message and say, hey, I really don't appreciate X, or I think you should support the American Jobs Plan, whatever it is that for your community. And we can publicly say, listen, you represent us, you need to work for us. And that's the case, whether you're here documented or not, they work for you. You pay taxes, then they need to represent your priorities and to protect our communities.
I couldn't agree more. And I know Columba and Cindy have, I've heard them in many opportunities, and they emphasize that doesn't matter, your voice counts, raise it. And if you are eligible to vote, register to vote, participate. If you're not, make sure that those in your family, your friends do it, because that's where we really build power, through the voice, through our vote, through doing that. So we are 30 minutes after the hour. I want to make sure that we all have an opportunity to give a final thought. I'm going to start with you, Columba. If there's any final message, anything that we may have missed, and a call to action for all our viewers.
Thanks, Felipe. I think my message will be for the 2 million brown and black communities here in the city of Phoenix, is that we need to come together. I think if we look back in history, nothing has been given to us for free. We need to organize, get together, and use our voices. It happened with our women's right to vote, the Clean Air Act, and now it's happening now. And as a mother, I'm worried because what kind of world I'm gonna be living to my babies, and I'm not always going to be as young. So what kind of world I want to be living when I'm not viejita? When I'm gonna be using a baston, I want to be able to be breathing clean air, because if not, cancer, and all these respiratory issues are gonna be more impactful to my health. So that will be my call to action. Join moms, join Corazon Latino, join organizations that are something to protect our environment. One petition at a time, one tree at a time, and go to nature, and it just energize your spirit, your body, and that will be my message. Thank you so much, Felipe.
Cindy, thank you very much, Columba. Cindy, same thing. What is your final message?
Yeah, I just want to echo what Columba said. It's important for you to be united in this, because we're all affected by it. And we have a chance to make a difference. And you can join us at EcoMadres by going to momscleanairforce.org/EcoMadres. We are always looking for more EcoMadres to join us, and EcoPadres. Felipe is one of our favorite ones. So we certainly, I know we're EcoMadres, but we also welcome everyone. And then if you're in Nevada, right now we're in the final stretch of our legislative session. We only have 29 days to go. EcoMadres and Moms Clean Air Force is pushing for Assembly Bill 349, which is a small step in improving our air quality. It would help close the current smog loophole that exists, which allows vehicles to be able to skip the process and continue to drive vehicles that are polluting our air. So I urge you, if you're in Nevada, please contact your representative and tell them we need this. It's a small step, but it's an important step. And hopefully if this pass this out of the legislature, it'll help us start getting on the path of improving our air quality.
Erandi, you're gonna get the last word.
Oh, I feel so honored. So just like Cindy and Columba have said, please become involved, join Moms Clean Air Force, join EcoMadres. Don't be intimidated by thinking that it's going to be this huge commitment. You can be as involved as you would like. It could be as simple as Cindy mentioned, just calling your representative, keeping, being aware of when bills are up for vote, when we need help to push certain things in the legislature, both in your state and federally. And I'm going to take Cindy's example and say that right now in the Texas legislature, we have HB 1820 that has come out of committee, and we really want it to keep moving forward. It's the first legislative step that's being taken after a rash of chemical disasters in Houston. There's a chemical disaster once every 6 weeks, and that's only what's reported. So this is super, super important. Please call your local representatives and ask them to support this bill. HB 1820. Thank you.
Bueno, pues muchas gracias a las tres. I'm honored. I'm privileged to be here with these amazing ladies. I love you guys. You are an inspiration. And I just want to tell you, as Corazon Latino, love nature because nature will love you back. Hug a tree. The nature will hug you back. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias. Y esperemos vernos muy pronto. Gracias, Cindy. Gracias, Columba. Gracias, Erandi. Gracias a Molly for helping us with the technical, and everybody who makes this great program a reality. Muchísimas gracias de todo corazón.